Hi, it's me again. It's the Nora Madonna Show, and you're watching it. And today is all about the Jupiter transit of Cancer that is coming up this June. It's going to be a big deal, especially for me. I'm super excited because I'm a Cancer and I love Jupiter. Jupiter's my man. Jupiter's my boy, my homie. I love him. We're like this. Me and Cancer is going to be the big year for me and also for you and just for all of us in general, because Cancer is a very important sign in the development of the human race coming up. Let's talk about it. Cancer, in the traditional sense, is the fourth sign of the zodiac. It represents the bottom of the cosmic chart, because the cosmic chart starts at Aries and has Cancer at the IC of the chart. And so Cancer is about the family, the home, the tribal unit, the safe space of where we go to in order to find ourselves, to bring comfort and to find nurturing emotional states where we can help develop ourselves and each other in a place of safety. That is what Cancer is about. Cancer as an energy is about developing that safe space for the consciousness to explore and go deep beyond the consciousness into the unconscious. Cancer is about going deep, deep, deep into an emotional state and to understand the emotional states of the self. It is about diving into the ocean of our own being and exploring it there in a safe space where we can disregard the outside world, go deep inside of our home, inside of ourselves, inside of our emotional state, and explore the cosmos that we find there. Because inside of each of us is a vast, expansive universe of being, of signs and symbols, of dreams, of hopes and aspirations, and just a vast network of things we are thinking about, things we've experienced, the worlds that our minds have created for our own edification. Inside of us is this deep and expansive landscape, and we call this space Cancer. And here comes Jupiter. Jupiter is the titan of the solar system. He's the most expansive planet in the sky. Jupiter is about abundance. It's about grace. It's about having and giving and generosity. Jupiter is a loving, kind, and generous philosopher king, and he brings expansion into everything that he moves through. Expansion, growth, development, evolution, and we're going to experience this at the beginning of Cancer. For the next year, we're going to go through this for an entire year. This transit will last. It'll start to expand all of our sense, our canceric sense. We'll begin to develop and grow and expand in new ways that we cannot yet comprehend. And your placement of Cancer in your chart will have a great impact on your life. And as well, since the moon is the ruler of Cancer, we should also be looking at your moon sign for over the next year and how Jupiter's effect will be expanding your moon and sense of intuition and sense of the emotional self, the emotional body of the self, the true self, the most authentic self, how that will be expanded over the next year. Cancer is a cardinal sign, just like Aries and Libra and Capricorn. The 0 degrees of the cardinal signs is the axis of the world, the point at which the world was hung, the cross upon which the world dangles, the cosmos is placed upon this cross of the 0 degrees of the cardinal signs. And Jupiter is about to enter this space, is about to expand the cosmos itself. We're going to be feeling this cardinal energy in our lives. Cardinal energy is, of course, the progenitive energy, the initiating energy, the beginnings of things. It is the energy that wants to get up in the morning and get going, have that monster drink, and let's get moving. Put gas in my tank. It's time to go. That is the cardinal signs. And it's curious. It's easy to think about that in terms of fire. Aries and all of that sort of stuff. We think about fire as being naturally initiating. Cancer is ultimately a cardinal sign. Cardinal water signs. It is the fountain spring head. It is the mouth of the river. It is the water that nurtures the seed. It is the water of the womb. That is Cancer. Cancer brings that new creative state, creative energy, the creativity of the moon, creativity of intuition, creativity of the deep knowledge of the self. It is wanting to express that and feel that and be that. But it is very guarded about protecting its space. Cancer is our place where we find our tribe, whether that is by who we grew up with, whether it is our family, or it is the people that we have elected to spend our time with, the people that we have chosen to be in our lives. Cancer is that network of connection between the people we trust, value, and find safety in. This time of Jupiter in Cancer, we can expect to be expansive of our, we've got the Lovers, of ourselves, of our internal dialogue, of our internal understanding of things, which is in a sense of what Lovers represents. Lovers' energy is a duality, and the capacity to have dialogue with the self is a duality. Lovers has connection to Gemini, which Jupiter just transited through. Jupiter just came through over the last year through Gemini and expanded everything that Gemini deals with in a certain sense, all the energies that Gemini runs through. And so what we have seen over the last year is this vast expansion of information, almost to the point of confusion. We've felt new AI come online in ways that we had not seen before, even though AI has existed for many years at this point. AI came into prominence over this past year in a way that was so exponentially expansive that it was almost difficult to comprehend. We have not even yet begun to comprehend all the ramifications of what has just transpired only in this past year in the development of AI. Its ramifications for our own thinking, how humans think, what humans think about. And there are a lot of studies now that are saying that perhaps it's making us dumber, less capable of thinking about our own problems, because we are constantly outsourcing our own cognitive abilities to AI rather than using them ourselves and developing in our own capacities. There are other studies that saying that AI is making us psychotic and crazy because it's spinning delusions and hallucinations and putting them into our brains. And so we're getting a little crazy. This is Gemini energy all over the place, spread all over the bread. It's too much. We got so much Jupiter in Gemini, it became too much. Too much information, so much information, we can't even discern what is disinfo, what is misinfo, and what is real info. We don't know what's real anymore. And so we've had to stop and take a break. It's going to be time to take that break. As Jupiter moves into 0 degrees of Cancer, there's a collective breath to be held. As Jupiter enters the world stage in a different form, he puts on a different hat. He takes off the Gemini hat and he puts on the Cancer hat. And now we begin growth in a new realm. Cancer is about nurturing, about caring for one another and assuring that one another has the safe space to be authentic, to be healed, to be safe, to be true to the self, to be true to the tribe. So as we see these Cancer energies develop across the human landscape, I think what we're going to start to see is more of a concern about the things that Jupiter and Gemini, progenerated into this world, propagated into our lives. We're going to see a sudden realization of, hey, wait, we're not just thinking machines, us humans. We're not like AI. We don't just spin around. We don't just have, we're not just simply productivity machines. We're not just simply answer machines. We're not just simply laborers here upon this earth. We actually have needs. We actually have emotional desires. We have emotional needs. We have to be addressed as human beings. We have to have systems, universal systems of nurturing in place in order for us to survive, because we are at our core emotional feeling beings. And that is what separates us from AI, from computers, from computational systems, from informational systems, from industrial systems. We are human beings and we have emotional needs, and they have to be met or we start to go cuckoo crazy. It's very dangerous for us. We need a little love and compassion to enter into our lives, and we need to nurture that aspect of ourselves that is most human, which is our depth of feeling and of emotion. And Jupiter is coming, entering that first decan of Cancer, the Two of Cups energy, where we collaborate and work with one another and recognize the truth of one another and work towards a dialogue and understanding and comprehension of one another. That is where our growth and expansion will be felt here in 2025 to 2026 of next year. More duality. More of that Gemini duality coming out. And the Two of Swords. The Two of Swords takes itself very seriously. There are very serious matters at hand to be decided. This too has its reflection in that early decan of Cancer. That early first decan, 0 degrees to 10 degrees of Cancer, is ruled by the Two of Cups, which I was just mentioning. And here we are with more twos, more things to be decided upon. The Two of Swords has very serious matters to be discussed and thought about, deliberated through. It shares a lot of qualities with Libra. There are things in the balance. We don't always know what the outcome is going to be, but we must make some kind of decision about it. And we may be blind in some way to all of the potentialities in this decision and how they may come forward in our lives. And yet, as Jupiter moves into the cardinal sign of Cancer in that early degree, we know that there are big new decisions that must be made in our lives in some way or another. We have to make decisions about what we choose to love, how we choose to express our love, how we choose to nurture one another, how we choose to recognize the essential dignity of every human being on this planet in order to give them the space to be their authentic selves. It's such a bizarre concept at the moment because we have all been robbed of our essential dignity by these industrialized systems. These industrialized systems that are attempting to reduce us down to simply modes of productivity to give wealth to certain individuals. And as Jupiter enters Cancer, and as on the other side, on the 90 degrees away, in Aries, we have this great celestial event that we have talked about previously of Neptune and Saturn entering into that also the early decan, 0 degrees even as they move retrograde back, 0 degrees of Aries, which is the other cardinal sign of fire. Other cardinal sign. It is the cardinal sign of fire. So we have Jupiter in the early cardinal sign of Cancer, and we have Neptune and Saturn in the early cardinal sign of Aries. And even later in June, we're going to have Uranus enter into the sign of Gemini. And we have Pluto there on the early sign of Aquarius. All of these planets, the later planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, these are the transpersonal planets. They have great significance because they sort of represent the forces of the cosmos that are beyond the psyche. They are outside of us. They are transpersonal because even though they are beyond us, they still have their effect upon our own being. They have an effect upon who we are, how we express, how we experience reality, but they also affect reality itself in ways that the other planets don't necessarily do on a regular basis. There are much larger forces in the cosmos. And all of these forces are now at the early decans of new signs. So what we have is a titanic shift in energy throughout the human landscape, throughout the collective psychological landscape, a shift in thinking so vast that we can barely even begin to comprehend what it means. We can barely begin to comprehend what it means. But let's try to put it together for a second. Just 1 second. Jupiter expanding our sense of nurturing in Cancer. Saturn and Neptune in Aries, trying to organize our highest aspirations in a new and almost impatient way. Pluto, wanting to transform and transmute our social structures and rebirth them into new things that might be of benefit to one another in new ways. And we have Uranus in Gemini, wanting to revolutionize, to have this sudden, forceful force of change. We have Uranus in that early sign of Gemini, wanting to bring this powerful force of revolution, rebellion, a force of independence, a force that wants to break away from old patterns and destroy them with rapid capacity. Entering into this realm of thought and dialogue and communication, of multiplicity. That is Gemini. All these forces coming together all at once suggest that the social landscape in about a year's transformation is going to be almost somewhat unrecognizable. It's as though we're going to come into this sudden comprehension that the systems we've been operating in so far don't serve the majority of the human race. Don't really serve the human race in any real statistical, numerical sense, since there are 7 billion of us. Maybe more, honestly. People are starting to think that we have miscalculated how many people are actually on this planet. Maybe there's more than 7 billion. There are 7 billion of us, and only a few who are dictating how all of us live and move into the future. There are only very few, very wealthy individuals who are attempting to control the development of the human race in a way that benefits only them and may cause the extinction of the rest of us. And we're suddenly having, as all these transpersonal forces begin to actualize and synergize with one another, the sudden realization, oh shit, this doesn't work anymore, and we may die as a consequence. We all may murder one another or face extinction if we don't change. We have big decisions to make right now about matters of the heart, about how to recognize one another in union, in divine union. What's the next card? The Page of Pentacles. Some message is coming for us very soon. The message, some negative message perhaps, some grand wake-up call about how we are developing our material world, how we are developing our abundance, how we are giving it all away. The sudden wake-up call is coming to us all very swiftly, very quickly now, as things move into the cardinal signs, as the cardinal signs activate in new ways. Earlier in the year, we had Mars retrograde into Cancer, transit Cancer, and leave again on April 16th. Mars is a malefic planet. It does difficult things, poses difficult transformations onto the signs that it moves through. Mars and Saturn are the malefics of the solar system. They are difficult planets. They pose difficult challenges. Challenges of the will, challenges of loss, challenges of things being cut away from us. That is what Mars does. Mars forces evolution through the force of friction and heat and pressure. It makes our lives difficult in ways that we then learn to deal with those challenges. We evolve in order to deal with challenge. This is very different from the way that Jupiter expands us. Jupiter expands us in very different ways, not through challenge, but through opportunity, by opening the doors of the self and saying, it is okay to walk through into new territory of the self. It is okay to evolve. It is okay to leave behind the people you used to be, the person you used to be. It is okay to step into a new life. It is okay to pursue your highest dreams and aspirations. Whatever they are, name them, numerate them, put them out into the world. I will grant them to you. That is what Jupiter is saying. That is how it expands us. It is through this benevolent, higher power. Mars challenges us, and we must rise to the challenge of Mars. But Jupiter rewards us now. As Mars has left Cancer and Jupiter now enters, Jupiter looks at the devastation of our lives in Cancer and looks at the way we have risen to the challenge of Mars and says, now I grant you this. It's going to place the medal on our chest, around our neck. Here's the medal. Here's the prize. Here is the winning lottery ticket. Here is what you've been asking for. In terms of your emotional safety, in terms of your network of connection to family. This is also very probably a time as we awaken to the necessity of nurturing one another, that we begin to reconnect and heal the damages done to our families over this last 5 years, honestly. We've had this incredible challenge to our familial spaces, to our tribal spaces, first posed by the difficulties of having to distance from one another and what COVID did to our brains in a certain sense of making us less socially assertive. We've had to be withdrawn in a lot of ways. People have withdrawn into themselves, into their own Cancer spaces. People have withdrawn into their own spaces of safety during COVID, and nothing has really been restored since. And Jupiter is going to come along and perhaps restore those things that were lost during that contraction of Cancer during COVID and the ensuing years. We've also had a rift in our family lives as we have ideologically drifted away from one another and had to say, I do not support you. I do not support you. We cannot be together because our ideological differences are so vast that there is a chasm of understanding between us. You see a world that is so vastly different than I that I cannot associate with you because you perhaps do not recognize this issue or this issue or this issue, or you don't recognize the essential humanity in each of us, and I therefore cannot associate with you. We have had this rift placed between our family and our tribal units because of ideological values. Cancer says, fuck ideological values. It's not interested in ideological values. It's not interested in the airy thinking and parsing out of philosophies and politics. It says, who is it that I need to rely on to survive? What is it in me that I need to express myself, to feel my most authentic self? What is it inside of me that I need to feel in order to understand and survive in this world? What is it that I need from my external friends and family that I need to survive? And how do I nurture an environment where I feel safe and I feel my most authentic? More bad news? More bad news coming our way about the way we have used our brash sensibilities, our fiery attitudes. Perhaps we have rushed into things too quickly. We have not thought about our processes. We have been inflamed by our passions, by our desires to move forward. And now the message is going to be clear that we need to extinguish those fires with water, put them out. Put out all those inflamed passions. And go deep into the aquatic, sensory silence of Cancer. That eternal world where life flourishes well beyond the sight of the conscious mind. Find what lurks deep within the cancerous, cavernous, unconscious self. See in us our shadow, our deep treasures, our deep aspects, our weird fishes that live deep inside of us. And now bring them to glorious expansion so that our inner world may become teeming with life again. That is our Jupiter in Cancer transit that we can look forward to. Remember to look to your moon sign. Look at your moon sign. If you don't know your moon sign, you can go look it up on AstroSeek or whatever astrology site that you want to. If you want to know more about your moon sign and how it might be affected by this Jupiter in Cancer transit, you can put it in the comments below, and I will try to keep up and comment on each one. There's not many people watching this show right now, so just put it in there and I'll talk to you and I'll tell you about it. Okay? We can explore all this together. Look at where Cancer is in your chart, what house it falls into, and what planets are there, what forces are present in your Cancer. And you can take some time to meditate, write about, think about, go for long walks about this new Jupiter transit through Cancer that is going to transform our emotional lives in very powerful ways in the following year. Enjoy yourselves. Live deeply. So that's it. Live deeply. Trust truly. Look to yourself. Go deep and see what you can find.